All right, good afternoon and welcome to my session, Enabling a Safe Return While Leveraging Technology. So I'm glad that we're all here in Las Vegas where COVID obviously doesn't exist, which is great. It's been a crazy 2 years. I'm going to try to unpack a lot of what we've done in 20 minutes. So if I miss anything or if there are any holes, please come up to me after. I'm more than happy to answer any questions. But it's been the longest 2 years of my life and also the shortest 2 years. Just crazy, crazy. So what I'm going to do today is go through our journey, our COVID response, what our COVID protocols are, and how we've leveraged the technology to return our office employees back into the workplace. So a little bit about myself. My name is Dana Lovano. I'm the Director of Environment, Health, Safety, and Sustainability for Uber. I've been with Uber for 7 years and am now officially considered an OG at Uber. I've been in the safety industry for over 11 years, and if you would have told me when I first started my career that I would be an expert in COVID, pandemic, business continuity, I would have laughed and said, no, thanks. But here we are, we're all dealing with the same thing. And so hopefully what I share today helps you within your organizations on how you can leverage the technology also for a safe return. A little bit about Uber. We currently have 3 different business model types that we have. The first one is talent hubs. Those are the types of offices that I work in. We have our accounting, legal, engineers, all those types of folks are in our talent hubs. Then we have centers of excellence. These are our customer support centers. And lastly, we have our green light hubs. Green light hubs are almost retail facing. It's where our driver partners can come, get access to, getting their documentation uploaded, whatever they need to get on the platform. So to date, 285 total locations are open. 17 of those are closed right now for various reasons. It could be due to COVID, could be for other reasons. We have over 33,000 employees located in over 60 countries around the globe. So a lot to kind of work through here. I think the one thing that has been consistent with our COVID evolution is that nothing is consistent. Even if we look at COVID protocols here in the United States, we have federal guidance, state guidance, county guidance, it even gets down to city by city differences. And so really we struggled at the beginning trying to unpack all of that and trying to filter through and coming up with a framework of how we were going to safely bring people back into the office. So some of you may have caught my session during Knowledge 21, but I want to kind of go back to that and talk a little bit about kind of the beginning evolution to our return to office. In early 2020, the first thing that I needed was, what is our business need? Why do we need to reopen in the midst of a pandemic? Other companies aren't rushing to reopen. Why does Uber need to open offices right now? And it really came down to our business model. Number one, we make money moving people and things around the world. And in order to move people and things, we need people driving on the platform. In order to get people driving on the platform, we need to have our green light hubs open to be able to support them to get on the platform and earn money. So that was our first business need, okay? Our green light hubs are essential. We need to open them. We need to make sure that we're serving the communities in which we operate. Once we had that down, I had to look at the legality aspects of what we were doing. And I kept coming back to the duty of care, or in the United States, we call it the general duty clause. And basically that says every single employer has the responsibility to reduce the risk, the likelihood of serious illness and death to its employees. So we had to do countless risk assessments, evaluate the risk, evaluate our safe protocols, develop the framework that we felt was needed for each of our business types, our offices, our COEs, and our green light hubs, and make sure that we had the right safe protocols in place. Once we got all of that done, we realized that it was going to take us between 4 to 6 weeks to reopen just one location. It was a lot of using spreadsheets, a very manual process, asking employees to opt in because we still didn't want to force people back in during a pandemic. But we understood that outside of the Greenlight Hub, some employees, for various reasons, I have 3 kids, all at home doing school. It was very hard to work while my kids were at home, using the internet, trying to share a space. So we did have some employees say, hey, look, I can't work from home. I need to come into an office. And so for those reasons, we said, okay, we want to start reopening our locations. Well, that's when we started looking at different technology solutions, and ServiceNow was one of those solutions that we looked at. And there were a couple of different reasons why we decided to choose them. One of them was because they had the right attitude towards wanting to work with us. We were on the forefront of reopening our offices. A lot of companies weren't doing it just yet. So we agreed to help one another out, right? I wanted to be able to knowledge share what we were seeing, how we were experiencing their products, so that they could then in turn use it to help other companies on their return to the office. There were 5 suites of products that we really anchored to over the last couple of years. The first one is worker readiness, and this one has all of kind of the basic stuff that you need. So your acknowledgements, your privacy consent, training, and like I said, we also did at the very beginning an opt-in process. So we enabled employees through ServiceNow to really take control of when they wanted to come back, if they wanted to come back, by setting themselves as, I'm ready to return, I'm not sure if I'm ready to return, or I'm not ready to return at all in the tool itself. The next one is daily health checks. So this one was mainly because we wanted to do this at scale, and it was unrealistic to do checks on site at over 300 locations around the globe. So we said, hey, look, every day before you journey into the office, it's your responsibility to check your health and to acknowledge that you did so in the tool before you come in. You're going to then get your green boarding pass. When you come into the office, you show that green boarding pass and you're able to enter the building. Then we went on to COVID-19 reporting and contact tracing. So through that daily health check, we were able to get a roster of everybody who checked into that particular office location on that day. And if there was a confirmed or maybe a potential exposure, we knew who was there, cross-reference that against our badge data, and we were able to send communications through ServiceNow automatically to employees. Finally, vaccine reporting and then also test results were 2 other modules that we introduced late last year. There were a few other ones that we did utilize, but not all that often for some of our locations. One of them was occupancy threshold. So there were a couple of our locations in Europe where we were only able to allow 10% of our total occupancy. And so in those offices, we put caps on how many reservations we could take for that particular day. All right, so let's go through the actual journey over the last couple of years. Phase 1 was really what I like to call the dark ages. It was just a complete shutdown. Everyone was working from home. Not one single office was open. We had a handful of essential workers who were maybe reporting into an office, but for the most part, 99% of our workforce was at home. The next phase, this is where we really leveraged ServiceNow, was kicked off in June of 2020. I engaged ServiceNow in May of 2020 and I said, hey, look, we've got a handful of locations. It was about 32 at that time. I need them opened in 2 weeks. So if you can produce me a viable product to get these people back into the office safe, let's go. And so they were able to do that in a matter of a couple of weeks. We opened up 32 offices at the beginning there in June 2020, and it was very successful. And like I said, the enablement piece was the fact that we were able to give control to our employees by owning whether or not they wanted to come into the office by saying, hey, look, this is where you go. You go to the ServiceNow tool that's located in your one login, and you control whether or not you want to come back or if you don't. Then we move on to phase 3. Phase 3 was really when we started focusing on carrot versus stick approach. We started incentivizing employees to come back. We didn't force anyone still, but that's when we started opening everything up. Our gyms open, we started hosting happy hours, all of that, and we saw our attendance increase because of the fact that we had the tools in place in ServiceNow. We got a lot of feedback that said, I do feel supported, I feel like I'm not being pressured, I want to come in, I see that you're doing all of these things in the tool, and so we saw attendance kick up. Fast forward to the current phase that we're in right now, we are 100% open, and we actually did just announce that we are a hybrid company, and so we are requiring that you spend 50% of your time in an office in a month. So 50% of that time in a month you have to spend in an office. A couple of things that really stood out here, just kind of like ServiceNow really hones in on, customer experience matters. So there were a couple of things that we really felt was very valuable. Number one, it was the partnership with ServiceNow. Throughout this entire 2-year journey, we wanted to make sure that we had partners that we were going to be able to collaborate with and share our experiences and improve the product. The next thing that we did was we introduced Slack check-ins. So every day, rather than having to go onto your desktop to do your daily health check, you could open up your Slack on your mobile phone and you can do your check-in and get your boarding pass directly through that Slack message. And finally, on the Uber side, we opened up a 24/7 Slack support. So if somebody said, hey, I can't do my daily check-in, we were able to respond, well, did you do your worker readiness? Have you completed, your vaccine requirement? Did you upload your vaccine proof? And so we were able to provide that information to them right away. Oh no. Bummer. Okay, well, this was an example of the Slack. It's not working. It was a minute ago, but that's okay. We're going to move on. Okay, so here's where I wanted to highlight our attendance trends. So you can see here from January to about the beginning of January 2020, so from 2021 to 2022, we naturally had this attendance progression of employees coming in without any kind of incentives. They had the power in their control on whether or not they wanted to come in, and they did so when they felt like they wanted to. Then Omicron hits, the holidays hit, we see this drop of attendance in January. It starts to uptick again, and then you see this dramatic rise in May, April time, where we announce that hybrid return. But without that announcement even being made, we saw a lot of employees come back anyways. And that's a testament to we had the right protocols in place. So now that we are where we are, as far as future outlook, where we go from all of this, like I said, it's been a long 2 years. I think we all know that COVID's not going away. The government, the public health authorities, they're starting to back away from giving us guidance. But the thing that we need to do as employers is hone in on that duty of care. we need to make sure that we have checks and balances and that we're doing the right thing for our employees and are able to demonstrate that we are exercising that duty of care for our employees quickly. The way that we've been able to do that with a company of our size is by leveraging this technology. We have about 5 minutes left. That was a lot of information to unpack. So if you have any questions now, I'm more than happy to take it. Any questions? Yes.
By default, did y'all just go all hybrid, or do y'all have like specific groups that may be hybrid and maybe on site?
So the question was, by default, do we go 100% hybrid, or do we have certain groups that are hybrid or fully on site? So the answer to your question is yes, we have a mix of both. So at this point in time, the Greenlight Hub employees are required to be on site full time, Monday through Friday or whatever it is. Our office workers have to come hybrid and spend 50% of their time. So it's a mix of both. You had a question?
If you already have ServiceNow in your environment, and so you do any business processes outside?
The question is, did we already have ServiceNow in our environment? Yes and no. So our governance team was kind of using it, but they hadn't actually deployed it to the company, so they were kind of in like test mode. So yes and no. After we got the Safe Workplace app and all that running, our HR team did end up switching to ServiceNow. So now we leverage more of their tools. Yes?
You mentioned like your resources, making reservations, and like tracking occupancy. How did you do that in ServiceNow without necessarily like a floor plan?
Sure. The question was, how did we track occupancy in ServiceNow without floor plans? Is that correct? And reservations. So what we did was we started off with a very large spreadsheet. And so we developed the framework in an Excel spreadsheet that we had all of our addresses, we had total number of seats, what percentage we were able to have occupied. And then with that, we transferred that information into ServiceNow. And so the genius tech people that are amongst us, they were able to put those caps in place in ServiceNow. So it wasn't necessarily, you didn't have to go into the system to reserve an actual seat, you just needed to reserve a spot. And once all those spots were filled, no more reservations were taken. Yeah. Question? I'm sorry, say that again?
Did you use the product mainly out of box, or did you customize it?
So the question was, did we use the product mainly out of box or customize it? I won't say customize, I will say configure. So pretty much everything was out of the box, but we did need to configure some aspects of that out of the box solution to fit our needs within our organization. Yeah. Customization costs a lot of money. Configure. Yeah.
You guys used your incentive to bring people back to the office. We kind of did almost the same thing you guys did. Pretty much exactly. We found out when we stopped giving them incentives and they stopped coming to the office, you guys don't seem like you're experiencing it.
So the question, or the question was, through incentives, they're seeing that people are not coming into the office once those incentives are stopped. We're not seeing that here. And I think the reason because is from the very beginning, we were very adamant about not pushing people back. It was a very organic return. Everyone is on a different COVID journey, if you will. We all have different experiences that have impact our outlook and our comfortability with COVID, and that's what we need to understand. And so we still have a handful of employees who are just like, look, I lost a lot of people in my family. I'm not comfortable. And that's okay. You know, we're not going to go to the extent of firing anybody at this point in time because we understand that. And I think that's why we're not seeing that dramatic drop at this point in time with incentives slowing down. Okay, we're at time. Thank you guys.